It's not just furniture, it's Rochester. It's something we say every day. But do we know what it really means? Our slogan implies that we are not the ordinary furniture retailer. We offer something different, something unique. So what is it that makes Rochester unique? It is about providing our customers with a phenomenal shopping experience, the Rochester experience. Every human being is unique, just as their fingerprints are. And at Rochester, we aim to assist customers in expressing their personal styles and individuality through an authentic experience in delivering unique pieces of furniture. Rochester salespeople are not order takers. Instead, Rochester salespeople should be regarded as experts in the furniture retail space. In order to be regarded as experts by our customers and to deliver a true Rochester experience, salespeople must have in-depth knowledge about how furniture is made. This DVD has specifically been produced to teach Rochester salespeople about the key elements in the making of good quality furniture. We will be exploring the various raw materials utilized in furniture manufacture, from wood, foam, fabric, and leather. We will also be taking a look at various assembly and finishing techniques in good quality furniture. Rochester salespeople will be empowered to sell and customize furniture with confidence. Being the expert will ensure that customers are always well informed and advised when investing in a quality piece of furniture. The Rochester experience, after all, is about ensuring a personal, authentic, and unique experience, something that customers cannot experience elsewhere. Today, Anton Oerendaal is taking two salespeople, Brandon and Cindy, to meet with an expert in the field of furniture manufacturing to learn more about how furniture is made.
Morning. You know, guys, we say it's not just furniture, it's Rochester. And I think often people don't understand exactly what that means. So today, I've brought you here to Brent, who is one of our partners that helps Rochester create that vision of it's not just furniture, it's Rochester. So Brent is very key in creating that value for the business and help us create that vision where it's not just normal furniture, it's something different, something special. So I'd like you to introduce you to Brent. Brent, what are you going to do for us today?
Good morning, Anton. Thank you. And Brandon and Cindy.
Good morning.
The message that I usually bring home and bring to the new people in Rochester is about the value equation. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be concentrating on that today. And the value equation is key in actually developing a business that is not an entry-level business. It's more a middle to top-end type business. And in terms of their positioning, the value equation is something that you're going to hear me say over and over again. But once you go through the presentation that I usually give, you'll see how important it is to what we do. And I think if that's the message that we're going to get through today, that's going to be very important for us.
If I can just drive home. So in a simple term, what Brent is saying is that we're not just selling products. If we're selling products, there's only three things that matters. What is the three things that matters if we only sell products?
If you're selling a product only, you really boil down to three very important pieces of price, price, and price.
And if that's the only thing that we're selling, we really don't have much of a business model because, well, if price is the only thing that matters, then the people who can buy the biggest and the most and all that sort of stuff will get the lowest prices, and that's the only thing that will be selling. So at Rochester, it's key that we don't just sell products and price. What we actually sell is an experience, and you as a salesperson is key in delivering that experience with special suppliers that can help you deliver that experience. So you're a salesperson, not just an order taker. Currently, as a salesperson, you compete against the web and everything else. If you just take orders, Well, people can place orders on the web and they don't need salespeople anymore. So as a salesperson, you need to deliver an experience and you need to be able to satisfy customers' needs as to what it is that they exactly want. You're going to help them. They come in every 5 to 10 years to buy a product, and it's not easy for them to come to those decisions. So you're going to have to help them make those decisions. It's not just taking a product off the shelf. It's not just furniture.
And pretty much you've got to make sure as well, which Anton and the guys at the merchandise division do, is they make sure they come and check the factories that they're working with and make sure that the factories are always delivering on that promise. So the relationship goes right back to the piece of wood that I go and source that we're going to get to just now, all the way through to the customer getting the delivery at 6 o'clock at her home on a Friday night. It's an entire process that we're going to go through, and the merchandise team pushes back and they push forward, and you on your side are key to selling that story and making sure that we don't disappoint customers and give them a value for what they've paid for. And that's pretty much what we are going to try and do today, and just get that message across. And how do we do it? And is it all just lip service, or is it real? And that's what we're going to have a look at.
All right.
So, Brent, where would you like to start? What do you think would be a good entry point in terms of trying to explain what's the difference between a simple product and something that's not just a product where we're going to compete on price?
I think the best place to start is going to be right at the very beginning. Where does a sofa start? Where does a dining chair start? Where do we get the thing? It comes out of the forest somewhere. A piece of wood is growing. That is going to be the next sofa that we're going to make. So, what is wood? Is you get good wood, you get bad wood. So we're going to most probably kick off, I would say, let's kick off with wood.
Okay.
If you can.
Go.
You guys happy with that?
All right. Yeah.
So if we start there, I'm going to sit on the edge of my chair if you don't mind. If we start with wood, wood is not just straight wood. You get hardwoods, you get softwoods. You get woods that are sourced responsibly, and you get wood where the guys are just taking them out of forest and not replacing. So all those things with the Rochester experience are going to become more and more important as we go down the line. Right now, customers are starting to ask those questions. Is this product green? Now, is this product green? I'm sitting on a chair here called the Alicia chair. How green is this product? We are getting to the point where that is becoming more and more important to clients. So we're going to just touch on a bit of that right now, and I'll tell you some very interesting facts. Well, I've made a few notes, and I've actually written a few things, if you don't mind. I'm going to show you on the board here. But the first place to start is, where do we get our wood from? Our wood is coming from forests that need to be FSC compliant. What is FSC? FSC is a world governing body called the Forest Stewardship Council. What they do is they just make sure that the mills and the places that we source our wood from are sourcing the wood responsibly. Okay, it's a very, very important thing, because you don't want to know that this piece of wood has been taken out of a forest somewhere in Central Africa somewhere, and the forest is now burning, or it's just a tract of land. Have they replaced it? Yes, it's going to become very, very important. The wood inside these products are FSC compliant. They are there. It's a real thing, and the people are going to start asking you for that. So you know that you can quite safely say that. Just a little example of what is going on up in Central Africa. There's a place called the Virunga National Park, which is in the DRC. You've got the gorillas up there. You've got beautiful, pristine forests. At the moment, hordes and hordes of young guys are busy burning those forests to create charcoal. Charcoal that we're buying on our streets in cheap bags. And we're making braais and we're having a great time with it, but what's happening is no one's replacing those forests. That wood so we also are getting wood from the exact same place. It's landing in the country. We need to make sure that we're not buying that wood. So we make sure that all our wood is FSC compliant. Okay, so you can just know that when you're selling, you can sell and make sure that it is FSC compliant. You can tell the customer, and if they ask you, you can with confidence say, yes, we're not using irresponsibly grown wood or irresponsibly harvested wood. Okay, so that's just an important part, and just an interesting fact on that. And the DRC as well, the guys kill the gorillas. They burn those forests, and the charcoal is leaving through Somalia, funding terrorism. It's actually a massive problem, so we need to protect our forests. Right, if we move on from that, we move to what is wood, what is a hardwood, what is a softwood? So I'm going to just open that up first. And if we take it that you've got hardwoods and softwoods. Softwoods, what do you use them for? Right, softwoods are actually graded into various grades. The softwoods, you will get top grade clear softwoods, and then you come all the way down to crating and very cheap woods. So what wood are we using? What are we using inside this couch? Is there crating in here? The answer is no, absolutely not. We start at industrial grade. So where does that come? I'll write it up for you just now. What is industrial grade? We're going to quickly go into that, and we're going to work out what the strength of wood and how important the strength of wood and how important proper kiln drying is. Just starting off quickly, hard and softwoods. Right, firstly, I've got two little planks that I've brought here for you. And if you look carefully, you will see that you've got layers inside there. Okay, so, and on there, you also have layers, right? Now, this is a softwood, and this is a hardwood. We're going to get into what they are and why those layers look different. So I'm going to put them over here, and we're going to just start. Wood grows, it starts off with a central growth. You've got a little tree. It starts to grow. There's a layer of, just below the bark, there's a layer called the cambium layer, and that's how your wood grows. In very warm, very moist climates, it grows very quickly. In very cool, very like wintry climates, like in Europe, it grows very slowly. The faster the wood grows, the wider apart your layers are. If you cut a tree down in half, you know that everybody will tell you that you can count the age of the tree. You can, because these annual rings are grown and produced by the cambium layer. So they're sometimes called cambium layers, or they're called annual rings. What happens is you'll see that on wood that's grown very quickly, which is in a warm climate with a lot of rainfall, those rings are quite far apart. Okay? Now, if you look carefully, you'll see there's a very light side, and a very dark ring. The dark ring is your winter growth. Grows slowly, less rainfall. The light ring is your summer growth. Lots of rainfall, nice and warm, trees growing like mad. This is SA pine. So this is perfectly, you can tell this tree's history. You can basically tell where this tree's come from and how it's worked and how fast it's grown. You can see there was a very good year. And you can see there were some drier years and some slower years. Very, very interesting. Now, even a piece of pine can be harder than another piece of pine. The closer these rings are, the harder the pine. The further apart these rings are, the softer the pine. So now pine sits at the bottom of the pile in South Africa. SA pine is a product that comes to about 400 kilograms per cubic meter. What does that mean? If you take a meter by a meter high, a block that big, okay, that is a cubic meter. If you weigh that, it's going to be 400 kilograms. A piece of beechwood, on the other hand, is going to be 800 kilograms. So you can see that this piece of wood is twice as heavy as this piece of wood. Now I'm going to give it to you so you can feel it. And if you feel that together, can you feel the density of that wood?
Yeah. This one is a bit harder.
So what happens is, why are there two different woods? Why are we even bothered? Why don't we just use this one? Why don't we use the very heavy one? There is a cost implication. So that wood, the pink wood, which is the beechwood that's coming out of Yugoslavia, which is Serbia now, that stuff costs about 15,000 Rand a cubic meter.
Oh.
The pine costs anywhere from 1,800 Rand to 2,600 Rand, depending on the grade of the pine. So, what do we use? If we take this, all sofas in South Africa are made with SA pine, and they have an element of a particle board for shaping, but mostly the structural side is made from SA pine, and the ideal is to use from industrial grade up. So, where does it start? You start at the very top of the range with clear. These woods are used for very fancy furniture, no knots, nothing, no knots, and it's actually a very, very important wood to have because it's top quality, but we don't use that inside one of these. You use it as show wood. So then you get a semi-clear, okay, and then you start getting into various grades below that, which are, I'm going to just quickly, I just need to draw a line here. So you get your semi-clear, then you're starting to get closer to your cutoff line where you're getting your utility grades. So I'm just having a quick look through here just to give you the proper words here. So you get an appearance, okay, and then you also then start getting into your industrial grades start up here, and this is called a utility grade. So you would get clears, semi-clear, appearance, and utility grade. You will not, and that is called a V5. Okay. For making furniture, you do not want to use anything lower than a V5. You will use from V5 up. However, to get the price of this item down, you can use things below that called black cross and called crating. Have you heard of crating?
Creighton.
So crating wood is the wood that they use to make the crates. But now, in order to get the price down, a lot of furniture manufacturers will use crating and black cross inside their product. Why do you not want it? Why does Anton specify that no one uses crating and black cross? Because this is a piece of black cross. Okay, so this isn't as bad as crating. What is it? Look how it's bent. Not kiln dried properly, off spec, waney edge, bad spec. And this wood is delivered like this if you buy that. So it took me quite a while to track one of these down, because you will never find this in my factory. If Anton finds this in my factory, you'll be looking for me on the side of the road one day. So that is a piece of black cross. Your woods that we would use would be from the industrial grades up, utility V5. This is a piece of utility V5, and that is the maximum allowed knot. So if you look at that knot, it is a tight knot. There's nothing loose about it. Okay, so it's still structurally sound, and it's still a good piece. That is a 38. Just remember that as well, because I'm going to come back to that. And that is a piece of industrial grade pine. Okay, so the idea that we've missed out just now was when I showed you the piece of beechwood. If you look at it on camera, you'll see that the cambium layers are much closer together. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Okay. So that is why this piece of wood is twice as heavy as this piece of wood. If I take this piece of wood and I bang it into this piece of wood, if you look carefully, look at the dent I've created. Wow. Look at this piece. See where I banged it?
There's no dent.
No dent. So what do we do with this, and what do we do with this? This wood, when it's thick enough and it's proper industrial utility grade, is good enough to use inside furniture. It will not warp, it will not crack, and it will not bend. And you won't get broken frames, and it's a very good quality wood to use inside a product like this. This wood is the wood that you use on your Tokyo dining chairs and on your dining chairs, and your legs and things are made in beechwood. Why is that? Because it's dried properly, it's very dense, and there's a lot of pressure on the back of the leg of a dining chair. So if the dining chair is made in pine, it's going to come loose at the back leg and the chair is going to wobble. And we're going to get into that just now when we make frames. So I won't go into too much detail right now, but we will come back to why you cannot use that. And your minimum level, your minimum standard for a dining chair is Merenti, which is 400 kilograms per cubic meter, 600 kilograms per cubic meter, and 800 grams per cubic meter. So you start being able to use this for dining chairs, but the ideal is a piece of beech. Okay.
So, Brandon and Cindy, just for, I think clarification, an order taker doesn't know this. They wouldn't be able to clarify this to a customer, can't explain it to a customer, and all they can do is to say, well, do you want one of those chairs? Yes, I can write up 2 of these chairs, and I can sell it to you at the end of the day. A salesperson really has the skill to sell the product and explain to a customer why, because ultimately you're going to pay a little bit more for this product. Although if you take the value equation, which says that maybe you pay a little bit more now, but it will last a lot longer. If you buy a good car and it lasts you 10 years, it's going to work you out better than buying a cheap car and you have to replace it every 3 or 4 years. And most certainly, I've been in this game for 21 years. I still have furniture in my house that my parents made, my dad made. He used to make furniture. And we still have it because it was made with decent, solid wood. It wasn't made of grating and all that other black cross furniture. So we don't have to replace it. And 20, 30 years later on, we still use the same furniture. It doesn't cost me anything to replace it, and the value equation works. You want to go on to the next part?
Yes, I think from there, that was just the lead-in on wood. I think it becomes important now to look at the frames. And how are we making the frames and what's going into the frames? And with the background that you have now on the wood and the quality of the wood and how important it is, I'll just quickly give you some information on a frame. So on your frame, Again, exactly as Anton says, the value equation becomes very important. The most important thing at the back of a sofa is a thing called a staple rail. It sits just behind, and it's where all your weight lands on that little staple rail. Staple rail, guys will get away with making it a 25 or a 19 mil, but that's the point. They'll just get away with it. That couch might cost you 300 Rand less. However, you've got a staple rail that if 3 or 4 people jump onto that couch, it's going to snap. Staple rails on decent couches are 38 millimeters. That is a proper staple rail. If you feel underneath your Alicia, just feel how thick that front rail is. You've got one of these in your Alicia. You've got thick, solid pieces of wood. And if you feel all of your side rails, they're very, very important that you actually put a proper piece of wood inside inside those rails. Especially when you start looking at a 3-seater sofa and it hasn't got a third leg. 3 or 4 people will sit on that sofa, and the pressure on the center in an instant can amount to tons, not just a couple of 100 kilos. And that point will break if you haven't created a proper sofa. Certainly, sometimes when it's a big 4-seater, it's actually advisable to put that third leg in the center because it will survive, but if 4 people jump on it while they're watching rugby or soccer, it will snap. However, you will find that if you've got a decent rail, it's actually not necessary. And some people don't want it, but always just check. So, that's your frame. Inside your frame, you'll find that when you cut to the clip and when I get to the dining chairs, you'll see big fat corner blocks. What is a corner block? It's a big piece of wood going across every single corner. That keeps the frame from twisting and warping. It keeps the frame from walking. And it keeps the frame true. Remember that these chairs are bought in your store, but they travel. Straight after you've sold it, it's not only going 300 meters down the road, they could be put in a container and shipped off to Ghana or shipped off to Australia or wherever it could end up. This thing needs to be able to travel. It also moves from my factory to your warehouse, back into another truck, to the customer's house, and that customer will move at some stage. And you need to make sure that that product can travel and is strong. And that's part of that whole thing. You can make a frame for a third of the price that we make frames for. The problem is you're starting to get into that territory of price. If you've made a frame with a front rail this thick, a staple rail 38, and when we get into the foam, you'll see the difference in price on foam. Now, if you take it, that crating, so when I told you about wood that you could get at 1,600 Rand, so basically, you can get wood at 1,600 Rand per cubic meter. Okay, that's crating. That's what you're paying. When you're starting to get up into these woods, you're at 2,600 Rand per cubic meter. Can you see the massive difference? You're almost paying 70, 80% more for the wood, which means that that frame, if that frame, I'm going to throw out a number, cost me 400 Rand to make, okay, I could make it for 230 Rand. You think Anton's going to like it? He's not going to enjoy it at all. The other thing is if I won't ask you to pick it up, but if you feel the weight of these chairs, there's wood in there. So if the client asks you, oh, but how do I know? The simple answer is feel the weight of the chair. Oh, but I can get a cheaper chair down the road. It's the same chair. Feel the weight of the chair. The weight comes out in 2 places. It comes out in the fact that this has got a 30 density foam, which we're going to get into just now. That's twice as heavy as normal foam. The frame is a lot heavier and a lot better than what we're doing down here because they use thinner rails. We're using proper rails. You'll feel it. Okay, so there are visible things that very, very much, one of the dangers we have with furniture is that I can make this look good, but inside can be absolute rubbish. And that's what's going on in the market. However, the things again, just to recap, feel the weight, feel the foam, feel how it sits, feel if it's got springs, and I'm going to come through to springs right now. So it's really back to that value equation. I can make this chair and I can save you 170 Rand. There is no point because it will come back at some stage. And at some stage, that customer will not come back because they will be unhappy about the product that they bought. So
it's important. I think one of the things with any company, we're not here to, it's not a fly-by-night. Rochester's been around for 21 years. And one of the interesting things I find is that customers come back after 5 years, 10 years. If you sold them something decent, they will come back. You don't even have to advertise to them or market to them. If you sold them something good, that lasts, they'll come back. If they need to replace it, they'll come back to you. That car dealership, that furniture salesperson who sold them real value, they will go back to that person. Now, part of all these things that Brent was mentioning is, as an expert salesperson, you need to understand things like a staple rail. Now, we can all talk about industrial grade wood or whatever and make references to they, but I'm telling you or guaranteeing you that most salespeople out there will not know what a staple rail is. And if you did, you will have a leg up on everybody else. And even amongst your other salespeople in the store, some of them will remember that it's a staple rail, some of them not. But the one that would is the one that will be able to be the expert. That expertise would help you sell better.
So we've discussed the weight of the frame and the way that you can identify a heavy frame is definitely got more wood. You can feel it. You can rock on the chairs. Customers can put their knee on the chair and give it a good shake, and you can feel it. And you can see when you're sitting on a sofa, if the arms move, something's going on inside there. Your products don't. That's where we find it is. The other thing that you would have is just one quick thing I just wanted to show you. Is that inside chairs, under this piece of foam, you either get springs, and these are called ZZ springs, and these give you a very nice bouncy feeling, and they protect the foam, or you get webbing. So this webbing is pulled and would be shot on. Some products need webbing because of the aesthetic qualities of it. Because springs would bounce out slightly, but it's the amount of webbing that you put on. And we're going to get into a frame now that has been imported that sells for 600-700 Rand. And I'm sure one day when this video is very old, they're going to be saying, where did you get a 600 Rand chair from? But they sell for 600-700 Rand. I'm going to tear it open and show you what is inside, what's inside that thing. And when you see how much webbing you need to replace a spring, you would need to cover the entire base with webbing to replace 2 or 3 springs. But I'm going to show you. So the product that we're going to get to now is a dining chair that we're going to go and look at. And we're going to look inside the frame of a dining chair. Sofas, you've got the picture. Dining chairs become very tricky because you get dining chairs from $699 all the way up to $3,999 and higher. Now they will look the same. And it's a classic case of putting lipstick on a pig. Once it's stitched and it's put on, you don't know what's going on underneath there. So we're going to go and quickly open one up, and I'm going to show you what you've got. And also then, again, you'll see the value equation and how it works out. But if I show you these visible things, I'm going to get through and you'll be able to figure it out. And I'm going to go off stage quickly right now and just bring 2 frames in. So, Brandon, Cindy, as I was saying, I'm going to take you now from that journey into the frames. I've got a few frames here. I just want to show you more or less what, in a practical form, we were talking about. As I say, you are going to be seeing the clips as well, but I've brought some into the studio so that you can actually physically see and feel and get an idea of what a good value chair is and what a poor value chair is. However, you've also got to remember that even a 699 Rand chair is good value for somebody. They may not be able to buy a 2,000 Rand chair or a 3,000 Rand chair. And the 699 chair does the job for them. And there's always a life stage or a time in your life when that chair, where the entry-level chair, is the right chair for you. You might only keep it for a year or 2 before it breaks, but your next chair, you will buy a proper chair. And hopefully as people progress through their life stages, they will be looking for that. You find that the entry-level retailers will be selling $499, $699 chairs. You only buy that once. You'll never buy another one. You will go and buy a proper chair. Eventually, even on a sofa. And there's a time in your life when you can only buy a 2,000 Rand sofa. And at that stage, that's the best value that you can get. You will find it. But as you move on, you will be able to pick up and progress through life. So, if I take a frame, we've been talking about side rails, we've been talking about springs versus webbing, we've been talking about a few things, and I thought I'd just show you a practical example. So I've brought in a chair that's imported from China, and you can see how easily I pick it up, and you can see things like the thin back legs. You can see underneath this chair, look at the side rails. And you see how thin these side rails are.
Very thin, eh?
Now that side rail is a very thin side rail joining a very thin back leg. So what type of strength do you think you've got over here, where the strength, required in Newton meters works out to tons and to many Newton meters? There's a lot of pressure, especially if a big guy gets on here and rocks on the chair. That's going to let go. That's going to be the problem. You need to have a proper rail coming into a proper size leg. So if we just take a look at a chair, this is just a frame I brought in for you, and a chair like your Tokyo chair, just look at the thickness of the rails, the thickness of the back legs, as you can see, and the fact that it's started to be sprung. So that is this is how the springs start working on the chair. They're shot in with clips. You've got big corner blocks. Remember we spoke about corner blocks?
Yes.
Can you see the corner blocks? So what you've got is you've got a chair that's got a lot of strength built in with support, with a lot of support to the back leg. Big 38 mils coming into strong legs. That chair would retail at over 2,000 Rand. When I show you the finished chair just now, excuse me going in front of myself, it is a top-end chair.
Yeah, just a quick question, eh? So you're saying that at the back, you must have a very thick legs at the back of the chair, just for the weight.
Just for weight and for strength. You don't have to go too thick,
Okay.
but it's got to be substantial. That's not enough.
All right, I see.
Whereas
that.
that's a very strong chair. Anywhere in the middle is also good. Is also quite good. And
All
that's
right.
you'll find that's a 700 Rand chair. That's a 2,500 Rand chair,
Yeah.
and in the middle you're going to get a 1,500, 1,800 Rand chair, and that's pretty much how those price points are built up.
Talking about weight, it's kind of difficult to identify or define weight to our customers regarding small items. Okay, because we know the weight of a 2-seater couch or a 3-seater. How do you define one of an occasional chair?
So if you take your chairs, and I'm going to actually put this back here before I get to my example, and I'm going to ask Brandon to come over here. Again, when you see, Brandon will come and just pick these up for us quickly so that you can actually physically feel. Just feel those two chairs.
Come inside and just...
Tell me what you think.
All right. Both all at once.
Both of them?
All right.
Okay.
Well, this...
So, Brandon was picking them up, and with his left hand, this one flew up, and that one was heavy.
Yeah.
Weight comparison, what do you think? Double? More?
This is like double that.
Okay.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
So again, weight becomes a very important factor. Now, the problem that we have is here it's easy to see thin side rails. But underneath a properly made chair, you can't really see the side rails. So, but you can feel them. So if you ask the customer to sit on the chair and feel, they will feel the thicker side rail. You feel this, very thin. You feel this. You can actually physically feel inside. So, the next important thing that we were looking at was the springs. That's got springs. That's got high density foam on the seat. This is a cheap chair. Can't have springs. Springs are too expensive. Hasn't got a high density foam. So one of the things you were feeling was not only the weight of the frame, you were feeling the fact that this foam is more dense than this foam, which we're going to get to, and what are the densities of foam in. This is a very good quality foam, and this is an average quality foam. Let me show you something inside from a chair that you're getting as an entry-level chair. I'm going to just, hang on a second. There we go. Have a look at that. So if we're taking this chair and we're opening it, and now have a look at what they've done inside this chair. Look how little webbing they've used. That's unacceptable. This chair would have been a really cheap chair, wherever it came from. So I've just torn it open. And I'm going to ask you, Anton, just to feel that webbing. That webbing's already dead.
It's already, there's no elasticity in
No
the
elasticity.
webbing anymore.
This is a proper webbing, and if you feel that,
You have elasticity.
you've got elasticity. So what's actually happened is the fact that this chair was made cheaply right from the start. You've got very little webbing going on here. You can imagine how this is going to last. It's not going to last. The next thing I'm going to ask you to feel, and I'm going to ask you to come up here, Cindy, if you don't mind,
Okay.
and sit in this chair, then sit in this chair. The thing you're going to feel is with a sprung seat, you've got even pressure over your whole leg. With the web seat, you're going to feel the rail in the front because the webbing is dipping below the line of the front rail. So just have a quick seat.
Okay. I'll start on this one. It is comfortable.
Can you feel?
Yeah.
Okay. Now sit in a web chair that's got very little webbing.
It's like I'm sitting on a mat.
Okay, so there's a physical difference. You can feel it, you can explain it to the client. It's very hard because you're not going to have many of these in store because this is not a product that you would buy. But you would have to be able to explain to them, feel for this. When they go back to the other retailer with a cheap chair, they will know what to look for. And they'll be able to identify and explain the difference, which is really, and the customer will understand the difference, and in doing so, make an informed decision as to, yes, this is $6.99. I'd like to pay $6.99, but you know what? I can see this thing's not going to last more than 6 months. This chair's going to last me for 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come back, rather pay the 2,000 Rand or the 1,800 Rand or wherever it sits. Okay.
So,
great. So
just
thanks.
one question. Are you saying that is webbing good versus sprung, or it's not good at all, or it just depends on what type of webbing do you definitely use?
It's a great question. Let's ask Cindy. You sat on a sprung seat, you sat on a webbed seat. What do you think?
I'd rather take the sprung seat.
Okay, so the answer is actually the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
The sprung seat will always give you a beautiful feel. You will never be able to feel the rail in the front, which will cut off your circulation.
Yeah.
Okay? This seat, even if you increase the quality and put webbing, you filled it up with webbing, you are always going to get the situation, and I've now lost my, my board, but you're going to get a situation where in webbing, I'm going to use this as the example.
Yeah.
If we had a piece of webbing over this chair and we had webbed this seat, I'm going to just hold this down here, and you pull that, Anton, it's flat.
It's flat.
So you're always going to get it ending up slightly below
you'll
the
be
staple
feeling
rail,
the wood.
whereas your springs are always going to keep you above your staple rails and your front rails. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Okay, great. So those are the basics of a dining chair in the dining chair business. And also frame. The same thing feeds back into the couches. The same thing is in the chairs, in your occasional chairs. It's about the quality of the wood, quality of the springs, amount of corner blocks, size of corner blocks, whether it's sprung, whether it's webbed. The other thing I'll just quickly show you on a chair like this. Guys, bring them in and bolt the legs. The legs are already loose. And in fact, this one's already, someone's had to replace the bolts. Because eventually these things start to let go.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, it is a necessary product in a lot of ranges because you've got to have a good, better, best. You can't only have a 2,000 Rand chair. You need to provide a solution. And the solution is good, better, best. 700-800 Rand, 1,600 Rand, 2,500 Rand. But it has its place. And when you're speaking to your clients, you will gauge whether the client wants to buy here or wants to buy here. It's not a wrong purchase. However, this one is. But the ones that you're selling, and we're selling in Rochester, are of better quality than this. But that is where that is what your competition is selling. And they are selling them, and they're getting returns. However, again, and I'm going to say it again, the value equation is what we're looking at. There's a reason why that's more expensive.
Very nice.
Okay.
I'm really building self-confidence come to like selling a chair. I mean, like, I think it's really going to do me justice.
No, I'm glad. And I think that's where we were coming to.
But Brent, you're missing the biggest point of this all. I mean, it's great explaining all about the build, but what you're not explaining is what's the real beauty about that chair.
The real beauty about the chair, to me, is the comfort of that chair and the way that rake works on that chair.
And what we're forgetting is that everybody wants something unique these days. Nobody wants to be just a number. There's 1,000,002 of those chairs out there. Everybody's got a chair like that. Every store's got a chair like that. Every other furniture store's got a chair like that. That chair is relatively unique. That fabric that's on there, not every person's got a fabric like that on there. And if I chose to have, I like your grey shirt. So if I wanted to put that on there, I could do that. And that really makes it unique. So if I'm going to come in and I'm going to buy a dining room chair maybe every 5 or 10 years, most certainly I want something that is special. And it's not just mass produced off a shelf. And I mean, and at Rochester, what we can do is we can put any fabric in there. I mean, a customer can even bring his own fabric, and we can send it to Brent, and he'll put that fabric on there. We can have that chair in leather. We can have that chair in plastic. We can have it on wool. We can do anything with that chair. Once you also understand how the chair is made, you can also understand, and I mean, especially with sofas, if you understand where this is made, how this is made, you can also understand how we can customize this. So I know that if I ask Brent to give me a price on one of these, but a two-seater, he will be able to do that, and I'll be able to satisfy that need for a customer. And that will be a fairly unique item. And everybody out there really wants uniqueness. They don't just want standard. Everything is standard or just based on price. I want something unique, something made for me. Now, what you can do as a Rochester sales executive is to give a customer a unique experience, give them a unique product, something that is just for them. And if you can do that, people will be willing to pay just a little bit more for that, wait a little bit longer for that, and ultimately remember that experience. And every time they're going to sit on that chair, they're going to go like, this is special for me. If they sit on that chair, all they get to do is just like, well, you know what, I paid $6.95 for the chair, and everybody else has got one like that.
Definitely.
Which is true. That is like what they've got in the market currently.
And this is something, I know there's some salespeople out there that will say, listen, I've got one of those chairs in my house to sell to a customer. But truth be told, I've got 6 of Brent's chairs in my house. And I think that says something. I mean, most certainly, I don't have 6 of those chairs in my house. I've got 6 of those chairs, not because I can afford it, but most certainly because mine happens to be in, I've got 6 chairs, all 6 are in different colors. And I think it really looks nice and funky. And, and I can express my individuality in those chairs. If I had that, well, my individuality will be 0. So I prefer that, absolutely prefer that.
And I think that's an important point that you've raised, is the fact that it does give the customer that choice. And choice is very important, especially when you're not paying $6.99, you are paying. So with it comes choice, quality, comfort, and all of those things that we've discussed. Again, when you add them all up, including the fact that the wood inside there is responsibly grown, it has a value. It has a value that this is rubber wood from where? Come out of a forest in Indonesia somewhere, and the forest was probably now a highway. It all works hand in hand, from the wood all the way through to that final product that you see there and the product that you're selling. And the individuality on top of that even adds more to that equation.
Yeah.
The person feels more special, and they are, because they are buying a proper piece of furniture. They're not buying a quick makeshift answer to get 6 chairs around a table. And that's really it. So I think that's the end of wood and frames, and I think if there's anything else you'd like to ask, shoot quickly now, I suppose, but I think we've pretty much covered most of the basics of the wood frame.
We did, yeah.
Okay, so I think what we would do is I would move on to foam, because I've been making reference to it quite often. So let's go to foam, and I'll show you what the difference is and why foam costs different prices for different foam. Should we move on?
Yep,
Great.
sure, that's great.